Joan Blades, I read something about something called MomsRising, and that I had all kinds of associations, probably the wrong ones. What is MomsRising? What are you trying to do?
We are an advocacy organization of over 1 million that are working on family economic security issues. And it actually got started 5 years ago in 2006 for Mother's Day. And I started it with Kristen Ralph Finkbeiner, the author of The F Word, Feminism in Jeopardy. I was reading the manuscript for her book and got to the data point where it said, in fact, there's not that there's a huge bias against women, it's a huge bias against mothers in wages.
Good
So
heavens.
if you're a single mother, you're going to be getting about 60 cents to the equally qualified man's dollar. And, you know, look at that and I go, well, why are there so many women and children in poverty? Now, if you're not a single mom, you're still only going to be making about 72, 73 cents to the man's dollar. Turns out there's a profound bias against women in hiring, wages, and advancement. Of the Fortune 500, there are 15 women CEOs. Supreme Court justices, the last 6 of them, 3 men, 3 women. All the men had kids. None of the women did. There's a systemic problem in this country. And first of all, we've got to name it. And we have to look at why might that be? And it's a multifaceted problem because it's a system. And it starts with the fact that whereas 50 years ago, even 40 years ago, most families had someone at home taking care of family responsibilities. And most families today have 2 working parents. Turns out that very often it's the woman that has primary caregiving responsibilities still. And when you happen to be the person giving birth, you in fact actually have to take some time off to do that. Out of over 170 countries worldwide, there are only 4 that have no kind of paid leave for new mothers: Papua New Guinea, Swaziland, Liberia, and the United States of America. Sesame Street, one of these countries is not like the others. And, you know, the reality is, in this country, we have mothers choosing between feeding their families and taking care of their new baby. It's stupid.
Since we all have mothers, I mean, where does this come from? What do you see as the root cause? Is it we don't expect women to be able to raise kids and earn a living or produce value at work? I mean, what's going on?
It's a multiple number of factors. One is that we haven't created a system which makes it possible for parents to parent and work as successfully as they could. Fact is, if parents have the ability to take time off to bond with their babies, the babies are healthier, the parents are healthier.
Oh, yeah.
Everything works better, and you'd actually save money down the line in healthcare costs. Just healthcare costs. I'm not talking about the educational benefits. There's arguments for that too. But then you need to have quality childcare. This country is just in a terrible state when it comes to quality childcare. The cost of quality childcare in most states is more than the cost of state college education
Good
per year.
grief.
So you're talking about a new family as opposed to one that's been saving up for college. It's sad, in fact. One of the most common causes of a poverty spell in this country is the birth of a child.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's not something that we've really put 2 and 2 together. And one of my big projects right now is to talk about how work that fits workers is actually more profitable for companies that and organizations. Yeah, there's a wonderful menu of opportunities to make work better fit workers. That's flexibility, it's commuting by phone, and that's good for the environment too. It's high commitment workplaces. It's also having non-linear career tracks. The University of California realized at a certain point they had more women graduating with PhDs, yet there were fewer women on the tenure track. And they looked at it, they stepped back. Marianne Mason did a study, and it was clear having children was what was the obstacle in many cases. They realized they could have an 8-year tenure track. It was equitable. Men and women could take it. And it made it possible for someone that wasn't able to just have the baby and keep going full speed to stay on her career track.
Well, I read your book on essentially a more flexible, accommodating workplace, and it sure seems to me that a company that looks ahead more than a year could say, hold it, by taking advantage of this, by offering things, we can have more loyal workers, less turnover, more dedication, and more fulfilled people, sort of a winning combination. How are corporations taking to your message?
I think it's very challenging to get corporations to change. And in general, corporations don't change until they have a crisis. I'm hoping that because we're in a period of transition, that we've got some disruptive technologies, people are working differently, even though it's not official, that we can grab hold of that opportunity, which is change, to make it a constructive change. Because right now we also have people that are going to work all day and then they're on 24 hours also. And that's, instead of technology freeing us, it's technology enslaving us, which is not good for creativity and it's not actually good for productivity. You may think that more hours is getting more for your money, but when you're working stupid, you actually lose in terms of your productivity. You do stupid things.
Well, Kurt, I love your terminology, since working smarter is, my theme song these days. And indeed, if somebody isn't getting at least 7.5 hours of sleep, they're not really doing what they could at work, and a whole bunch of other things. If they're worried about who's going to pay the bills, that's going to take a toll.
Or if you're worried about your child coming home from school, you have to work all day, and you just want to be able to make a phone call to make sure they're fine. There's some companies where that's not permitted. There's some companies that are very rigid. They feel like it's the difference between command and control and trust and empower. And a lot of managers have been raised up in a command and control authoritarian work structure. And when you tell them, you'll actually have more productivity if you have a plan where you trust people, they know what you expect of them, you've made a plan together, and then you empower them to do that. And that's true in almost every job. Yet that's very, it's scary to someone that hasn't done that before.
Well, yeah, people don't like change.
The
old comfort zone.
Change. And that's a real personality. That's asking for a big transformation.